Many of us grew up being admonished not to be too earthly, to be more spiritual, but that's not always what's best for us. Sometimes, and especially in this time of year, it's good for us to acknowledge the sins of the spirit and the blessings of the flesh. Let's talk about it as we go down to the Oak Church. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie, and I am a Christopagan Druid and Priest of Rigid. And today, I wanted to talk about something that you don't often hear from a pulpit. I do, but that's because I am a part of a group that practices creation spirituality. In fact, the title of today's sermon is inspired by a book by Matthew Fox by the same name, Sins of the Spirit, Blessings of the Flesh. If you've never read this book, I highly recommend it. This is not a review of that book, nor is it a breakdown of all of the contents in there. I'm just going to vibe off of the spirit of that book. I highly recommend you reading it if you're not familiar with it. It's a brilliant, brilliant book. Before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow whatever the terminology is on the app that you're listening to us on. Every week, we bring you a new Christopagan and Druid sermon here at the Church of the Oak. You don't want to miss a thing. You also might want to check out our other podcasts, the Hollowstead, where we do guided meditations, rituals, and prayers every week, and Creation's Path, where we break down Christopagan and Druid topics every day in hopes that we can help more people follow the Christopagan path. So let's get into it. Just the phrase, sins of the spirits, blessing of the flesh, sounds wrong to a lot of our ears. We're used to talking about how the flesh is evil, your carnal desires, the wicked carnality of the person. We talk a lot about how body's bad. That comes from Augustine. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Over on the Creation's Past podcast, we did a whole thing about original sin and Augustine over there that if you want more information, go check that out. There really was this weird movement in the first 3-4 centuries where people were afraid of their bodies. I think that this comes from the Neoplatonic spirituality that was very popular in Greece and Rome, where nascent Orthodox Christianity and later Catholic Christianity was being born. You see, in Neoplatonism, spirit good. Spirit not only good, but is ideal, perfect, beyond anything that we could imagine. Absolute perfection. While everything manifest is corrupted because it can't be made to those ideal perfections. It's going to be off by just a little bit, and thus never achieving that true perfection. Neoplatonic religion was all the rage in Rome. It really does bring about the divide that we see in early Christianity. What often gets termed as the Gnostic movements were kind of 3 separate movements that we conflate together under the term Gnostic. They were the Barbalites, who we really don't know where they came from, but who worshipped a female creator spirit named Barbello. Some were Hermeticists, but the vast majority of them were very pure Neoplatonists who follow the Neoplatonic model to its T. So if you're trying to understand Gnosticism, maybe look into Neoplatonic religion and Neoplatonic philosophy, and then you'll see how it is inflected into all of the other Gnostic groups. Orthodox Christianity didn't fare much better. As it was developing, it tried to adhere more to Aristotle than Plato, but those Neoplatonic ideas came in. The only places that it really bristled against them was in the idea that to the Neoplatonic Christians, Jesus could not have had a physical body because then it would have been imperfect because all physical things are imperfect. And of course, the Orthodox and later Catholic Church insisted that Jesus had a physical body. It's a very philosophical idea. We're not going to get into it. But this is one of the places where we see rising imperial church make a statement, not body good, but body necessary. Because Jesus had to have a physical body so it could suffer. Yeah. You see, they're not really fighting against the Neoplatonic idea that spirit perfect, embodied world bad. They were just trying to say, yes, embodied world bad, so Jesus had to be embodied so that bad part could be made to suffer. And that's a weird idea. That's an idea that I really can't get behind. but it's one that is stuck within Christianity all the way to the modern day. Mel Gibson made a famous movie about it where he included a lot of anti-Semitic ravings by a madwoman who had the diseases. But we're not going to get into that right now. That's a topic that we may talk about closer to Easter. This idea from Neoplatonism that body bad gets reinforced by Augustine, who, as we know, had a problem with saying no to his body. If he was hungry, he ate. If he was thirsty, he drank. If he was thirsty, he went out and got a hookup. Today, we would call Augustine a messy bisexual, because that's what he was. He talks about his trysts with men. He talks about his trysts with women. If you really want to know the way the church really saw sexuality back then, he has the same condemnation for both. He doesn't really see a difference between his homosexual liaisons and his heterosexual liaisons, only that they both tempted him, the morally pure man, with their sinful bodies to take pleasure in them. Because, of course, it wasn't his own lack of willpower that caused him to have these relationships. It was their dirty, sinful bodies. And thus the idea gets implanted. Between this Neoplatonic idea and this Augustinian idea, everything becomes corrupted. Augustine, in his damnable heresy of original sin, convinces everyone that world bad, everything that we touch and see is evil, corrupted, not good, liable to lead us into error and to cause us to go down the wrong paths. This really is him kind of riffing on the Neoplatonic ideas that preceded him. Now you get to us today, and people have shame over the way their body looks, how it smells, and even some of the urges that are present within it. We have forgotten that our bodies are natural, that they were made in the image of God. Like all creation, we are holy beings, and that includes our flesh. Our desires, even our sexual desires, are not bad. I'm not saying that they're good, because I think that's where people go wrong when they're developing a sexual ethic. They're not bad, they're neutral. You see, relationships between consensual adults are what relationships between consensual adults are. They have to be negotiated. And the right and wrongness of these interactions is based very heavily on the results of those interactions. No one is owed another person's body. And sometimes I feel like when we say things like sex is good, people tend to think, well, then you're owed it. That is not what we're saying. It is a neutral thing. It can be used for good and for evil. But in a right relationship, it can be a glorious, divine experience. Now, the same thing can be said in reverse for the spirit. Spirituality is a wonderful thing. I've dedicated my life to the study and practice of spirituality. I'm currently making 7 episodes a week of content about it, not to mention all the stuff I'm writing for wisdomscry.com. Spirituality is a great and glorious thing, but it has very severe pitfalls. There's a lot of dangerous things here. The first of which is becoming too spiritual. It's one thing to start acknowledging that spirits exist and that there are various energies that are driving us to go this way and that way, and that sublimating those energies can help us to lead a better life. It's another thing to completely ignore the physical world. This takes several different paths, but when somebody believes that their faith will heal them and so they don't take their doctor's advice, they don't actually take the medicine or have the medical procedure that could save their lives, often because they have overly spiritualized their illness to the point where they're not understanding that the science also comes from God, the medicines come from God, and the wisdom that helped us develop the surgical procedures came from God. It is as much an act of faith as believing that a miracle will happen. In fact, it's a worse thing because it's what Jesus told the devil to go away for. Remember, the devil took Jesus up to the top of the temple and said, "Throw yourself down. If you are the Son of God, will not the angels lift you up and not even let you bash your ankle on the ground?" And he said, "Get behind me, Satan. You shall not tempt the Lord your God." He said it's a wicked and corrupt generation that demands miracles. And it is. If you're trying to force the hand of God, you're not actually acting in faith. You're trying to exert imperial control over the universe itself. And that is an evil and wicked thing. Don't over-spiritualize. Don't let yourself get so far into the clouds that you don't see what's going on around you. Look, some people are called to a monastic or the life of a hermit, an eremite life, but you need to be very clear that that's what you're doing. Don't just ignore your friends and family because you're becoming too spiritual. If you feel a calling, find an order, discern your vocation with them, and see if that is something that you need to do. Isolating yourself and being alone is a dangerous path for your own psyche as well as for your own well-being. There are a lot of physical and mental harms that can come from isolation. So be careful that you're not cutting yourself off. If you're part of any movement that tells you that you have to cut people out of your life to be a part of it, that's a cult and you need to leave. No one should be telling you who you should or should not be around for spiritual reasons. Spirituality is here to benefit us and to be a practical guide along the path, not something that is controlling and demanding. The worst sins of spirituality are the navel gazing. When you spend so much time contemplating and meditating that you allow harm to come to yourself or others when there were actions you could have done to prevent it. Where you ignore cries for help, where you ignore the world that's going on around you, or worse, you pretend that everything going on is part of the divine plan and that we should just accept it. I hate to break the news to you, but that's not how the divine plan works. See, the divine plan is something you can see in hindsight, not foresight. We know the hand of Providence looking back at our lives, and we see what first seemed to be random, incongruous activities wove together to make a story, to make the lives that we now live. Providence is something you see looking back, not forward. Yes, we consult the oracles. Yes, we read our cards. Yes, we may do various other forms of divination, but that's not to know the future. That's for guidance on how to walk. Beware anyone who tells you that they know the future. I have been told that the world is going to end every year I've been alive, and yet it's still here. Prophets of doom are almost never right. And when they are, it is a temporary doom, and life finds a way and goes some other path. There may be a lot of trouble and strife, but it will find a way. Spirituality does not absolve us of the actions that we perform. Just because we're doing something for spiritual reasons does not justify it. We need to say that again. Just because we're doing something for spiritual reasons does not justify it. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir with this, but it's something we need to get better at saying loudly, proudly, and all the time. Yelling at people, telling people that they're going to hell, being rude, cruel, dismissive, passing laws against people because they do not follow our particular spiritual path or religion are crimes of the spirit. I know some people listening to me are going to go, but Charlie, those are actually fleshly things and no true Scotsman, blah, blah, blah. No true Scotsman. And we can't let ourselves off the hook like that. We can't. Everything has the chance of being addictive and everything has the chance of being abused. Mindfulness meditation is a very good thing, but if all you do is mindfulness meditation, your muscles will atrophy and you will starve and dehydrate. A good life is a balanced life. It's finding the middle way. And in everything that we do, we need to be striving for the middle way. Spirituality has caused much harm to this world. I'm not one of the people that thinks the Crusades is one of them, and it played a role. This isn't a no true Scotsman thing. Spirituality definitely played a role in that, but so did politics and racism and a lot of other things. I think we let a lot of people off the hook by trying to just blame the church for the Crusades. Oh no, a lot of kings and merchants and knights did a lot of bad stuff that they need to be blamed for too. And that's really what I'm trying to get at here. Black and white thinking is for black and white pen and ink comics. It's not for real life. The only time something is truly black and white is when it's letters on a page. But once you read those letters and get words, all the shades of gray and all the colors of the rainbow come out. And spirituality really loves to go black and white. This is good, that is bad. This is right, that is wrong. These people are holy and chosen, and those people are evil and profane. The spirit is good, the body is evil. All of those simple dichotomies are flawed and are dangerous. If we're going to really truly be spiritual people and inhabit the wisdom that we want, we have to realize that anytime we are creating anything where it's this and that and the tension between them, and we're creating a tug of war, we are probably wrong. Almost 99.999% of the time, we're wrong. That is not how reality works. Rarely are there just two sides. Take the American Civil War. We like to simplify it and say that it was about slavery or about states' rights. You know what it was about? Everything and anything. Some people just wanted to fight. Some people wanted to continue to own other human beings. Some people wanted to preserve an idealistic idea of a unitive nation state. A lot of different motivations went into the fighting of this war. That is the hard truth. It's nice to have the simple narrative of it was good against evil, those fighting for justice and freedom versus those fighting to keep people enslaved. And don't get me wrong, 100% across the board, the South was fighting to preserve slavery. They wrote it in all of their secession documents. It's not debatable. They seceded to keep humans as property. The war itself made people money. The war itself had numerous instigating and perpetuating factors, which is why we are here today, and a lot of those factors are still going on. The racism, the white supremacy, all of the systemic issues were not dealt with because, again, we tried to simplify it. This is the real sin of the spirit. When we try to simplify things down to a good versus evil dynamic, we allow evil to perpetuate itself. Because like with the example I gave of the American Civil War, we simplified the story down, and depending on which side of that war the land you were on was in, you were taught either it was about states' rights or about slavery, maybe both, but probably one or the other, and that lets everyone else off the hook. You see, if we were fighting for slavery or against slavery, well, slavery was abolished. Lincoln freed the slaves after all. Yes. And then we recreated a new slave class through the carceral system. See, if you actually read the amendment where we've made slavery illegal, there's an except. Yeah, there's an exception on that. You're not allowed to own a slave unless they've been convicted of a crime. Yeah, we put an exception on there. Slavery still exists. It's called prisons. That's not me reading into what the prison system is. It's what the Constitution says a prison is. This is how we're going to do slavery now, not on plantations, but in prisons. And so the actual problem remains because, well, we got rid of chattel slavery. We're not doing that anymore, but the actual problem persists and is allowed to perpetuate itself. The racism, the white supremacy, the systemic injustices that underpinned all of the assumptions that the Civil War was fought over, we're still fighting those same battles today. We're still fighting for equal rights and equal payment. We're fighting for people to earn a decent wage from their labor. All of that work is still going on. The systemic injustices done against those formerly enslaved people are still going on to this day. But if we simplify the story enough, we can clap our hands and say that we did it, we won, and move on. And spirituality and religion love to do that all the time. That is the true sin of the spirit. You see, once you go up to this high-level perspective, you can see what was really going on. No. You're trying to move away from people's practical daily lives so that you can oversimplify and claim victory, or oversimplify and invent new enemies to fight. Spirituality is complex. It is complicated and it is nuanced. And if you've listened to any of our content, you know that we go through those complications, those nuances, all of those little tricks that your mind can play on you and that you need to be watchful for, because spirituality isn't a simple path. Magic isn't simple. Nothing worth doing is simple. When we allow people to simplify our spirituality down so that we can claim victory and ignore real harm that is going on, we have fallen off of the path. The same can be said for that whole flesh thing. There are groups that have used our culture's prohibitions on bodily desire and bodily autonomy to create really dangerous high control groups. So it can go either way. Like I said, it's all nuanced. This is the problem with the internet. We don't like nuance. This is the problem with our modern culture. We don't like nuance. We want clarity. Well, you want clarity, here's clarity. I can say it very simply. Do to others as you would have them do unto you, and do not do to others what you would not have them do unto you. This is the law and the prophets. There you go. Done. There's your simplicity. But notice how nuanced even that is. Notice how nuanced that becomes. So as we are going through these days of repentance in preparation for the Day of Atonement, bear in mind, sins aren't just things that happen in your flesh. They are things that happen in your mind and in your spirit. They're the acedia that keeps you from taking action, and the false wisdom that tells you that everything will just handle itself. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this and you can, leave a like. That really helps. If you're listening to this on iTunes, leave a review. That really helps us out more than you know. If you're listening either on YouTube or Spotify, please leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. How are you practicing repentance in this time? How are you returning? If you're interested, we just did a Teshuvah practice over on the Hollistead podcast. If you're listening to us anywhere other than YouTube or Spotify, and they are allowing you to leave a comment there, they do not notify us about those. So please take that comment and go over to creationspaths.com, click chat, and you can leave it there. And then we can have a conversation with you, because I really would love to get in touch. You can also follow us on social media. We are Creations Paths on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, and I've been a lot more active on all three lately. If you have a few dollars you can pass our way, you can support us by joining a membership over at creationspaths.com, or by supporting us on Ko-fi or Patreon. We are CE Dorset on both. Money really does help us keep the lights on, keep food on our table, and a roof over our heads. So thank you to everybody who does that. Until next time, may the power of the one life guide you down all the paths that you should walk, and help you keep from going astray, but ever be a light to your path, so that you will know how to find your way back should you walk off into the woods. Amen.